Steak knife, Fred Scappaticci. Steak knife, Fred Scappaticci, facing more than 30 lawsuits. Courts may hear evidence in private. How and why did Scappaticci survive the IRA's wrath? After being outed as informer Steak knife, he escaped the punishment many before him suffered. Freddie Scappaticci sent a young boy on a message, as they say in Belfast, up to the home of 44-year-old Anthony McKiernan in January 1988, asking McKiernan to call by to see him. Not only were they neighbors, the Scappaticcis and McKiernans were also friends. The children of both families had sleepovers. That was the last McKiernan's wife and children saw of him. 24 hours later, McKiernan was found shot dead on Micah Drive in Beechmount, not far from the Falls Road. He had been condemned as an IRA informer, something his family has always denied. McKiernan's death was not the only occasion when Scappaticci shut down the normal inhibitions that prevent people visiting harm on others, let alone friends and neighbors, and scheming to do so in such a viscerally treacherous way. Jerry Adams backs Freddie Scappaticci. Stakeout. Who is Steak knife? When was Freddie Scappaticci named as the IRA double agent, and why has he been arrested? Scappaticci later said, according to the press, "I am guilty of 40 murders. But I am telling you this now. After this has settled, I want to meet the families of the people that they said I murdered. Let's meet with Arthur Raffert Jr. He did the IRA's dirty work for 25 years, and was paid £80,000 a year by the government." Man revealed as Army agent may be connected to 40 murders, even to his fellow IRA men. Shocked at the revelations of the traitor in their midst, Alfredo Scappaticci has a fearsome reputation as a ruthless psychopath. In his book, Killing Rage, Eamon Collins, the prover who became one of the organization's most vociferous critics before his former comrades murdered him in 1999, tells a revealing story. Danny Morrison, IRA, stood down Scappaticci in 1990. Former Sinn Féin Director of Publicity Danny Morrison has said the IRA informer known as Steak knife was stood down for the organization under a cloud of suspicion in 1990, despite the fact he continued to live in West Belfast until he was publicly outed in 2003. Steak knife, thought to be Freddie Scappaticci, denied allegations that he had been a high-level agent working for military intelligence when his cover was blown by the media in May 2003. Freddie Scappaticci pleads guilty to animal pornography possession. West Belfast man widely named as British Army's IRA informer Steak knife gets suspended jail term. Army whistleblower to testify on IRA double agent Steak knife. The murder of Arthur Rafferty. Arthur Rafferty Sr. was shot at Newington Street in North Belfast, close to its junction with the Limestone Road, on August 15, 1974, and died in hospital several weeks later. The IRA claimed responsibility. The Arthur Rafferty murder of 1974, how the British security forces are helping a killer spy to rebuild his life. Rogue Irish police officers colluded with the IRA during the Troubles and even stopped senior members being arrested. Former Republican intelligence chief claims Irish police tipped off the IRA about planned arrests. A new book claims former IRA intelligence officer Kieran Conway makes the claims in a book. Mr. Conway alleges top Irish politicians and bankers also supported the IRA. A separate probe found no evidence of collusion between IRA and RUC. Members of Arthur Rafferty's family claimed the RUC covered up his death. Mr. Rafferty was murdered by the IRA in Belfast in 1974 in a gun attack. His family claims the killers worked as informants for the RUC in Belfast. The police ombudsman of Northern Ireland found no evidence of collusion. A North Belfast man whose father was murdered 37 years ago by the IRA is asking the Chief Constable and the police ombudsman to reopen the case. Arthur Rafferty was shot on September 8, 1974 in Newington Street. The 56-year-old Catholic civilian died 3 weeks later. His son, also called Arthur Rafferty, believes he knows exactly who his father's murderer is and is calling for him to stand trial, even though he believes the man was working for the British government and is being protected by them. He told the Community Telegraph, "My father was murdered 37 years ago. I know who the people who murdered him are. For 37 years I have been fighting for justice for him. I have contacted Nigel Dodds and Robin Newton about this, and phoned the Historical Inquiries team and phoned the policing board. I want to speak to the PSNI Chief Constable Matt Baggett, but he says he can't find the time." Arthur says the police ombudsman's office had been investigating the incident but ran out of funding. "But I've told them all they have to do is go to England and arrest him and bring him back to stand trial. I was at the policing board meeting in the Grove Leisure Centre, and I told the PSNI area commander Andy Freeburn that I want this man brought back for the murder of my father, and 20 to 30 other people. He put that to Mr. Baggett, but there has still been no answer. Mr. Dodds wrote to him twice too, and he is still refusing to meet with me. I want my father's case heard. It has been 37 years and there is still no justice," added Arthur Rafferty. North Belfast MP Nigel Dodds said he has contacted Chief Constable Matt Baggett on Mr. Rafferty's behalf. Arthur's concern is why this man is not being investigated. Other people have been brought back and arrested and tried. Why is this man not being investigated? He advocated. "I have asked the Chief Constable to meet Arthur, but so far he has said no." The superintendent wrote back on his behalf recently and said no, he couldn't add anything and there is nothing to be gained by a meeting. "I'll be continuing to press for a meeting," he added. Robin Newton, a policing board member, said he was motivated to support Mr. Rafferty because of his work on behalf of people from all sides of the community who are suffering from the killer disease asbestosis. "I have been lobbying through the official channels of the policing board to bring this person or persons back to Northern Ireland. All official avenues of inquiry must be used, and I am currently seeking advice on this matter," he continued. A PSNI spokesperson said, "The Chief Constable's office has responded directly in relation to this matter on 3 separate occasions within the last year and addressed the questions raised in these responses. The PSNI and the Ombudsman has issued statements ref Arthur Rafferty's murder. Ombudsman finds no collusion in Irish Cap murder of Belfast docker. However, Dr. Michael Maguire did find there were failures in the RUC investigation into the shooting of Arthur Rafferty. Ombudsman finds no collusion in Irish Cap murder of Belfast docker. The PSNI has been accused of failing to act on new information relating to the horrific murders of 2 British Army corporals during an IRA funeral.